Good morning, everybody. So 22 years ago, two young entrepreneurs attended a cybersecurity and financial crime conference in Las Vegas. It's been a long road, and it's definitely been a very long time since both of us, Prime Minister Naftali, Bennett, and I attended a cybersecurity conference together. And it's wonderful to do it again. Good morning.
Good morning, Michal. You know, we founded the Toyota together. She's talking about us.
So we're going to share a lot of cyber insights this morning, but perhaps you could share a little insight into the situation in Ukraine right now.
Well, there's a terrible war going on in Ukraine. War is horrific. I've participated in 5 or 6 different conflicts as a soldier, as a commander, later on as a security cabinet member, and it's just a horrible thing. We in Israel have had our fair share of wars, and I can tell you one big lesson. Wars are easy to start and very difficult to finish. Things are looking bad on the ground right now, but it's important to understand that if world leaders don't act quickly, it can get much worse. I'm talking about untold loss of life, total destruction of Ukraine, millions of refugees, and it's not too late. It's the responsibility of the major players in the world to act rapidly, to get the two sides out of the battlefield and to the negotiating table.
So going back in the time machine to 1999, when we co-founded Toyota, that actually protected financial institutions against cybercrime, and cybersecurity was not as trendy as it seems to be right now. What drove you to co-found a company in the cybersecurity space and actually to become one of the driving forces behind the explosive growth of this field in Israel?
Well, it's we, not me. We did it together with also with Leo and Ben and other good people. We had seen early on that there's this thing called e-commerce, means buying things on the internet. And in the early times, you'd buy a product and sometimes send a check in an envelope because people didn't trust the internet and were afraid of buying on the internet. And that brings me perhaps to the main issue of security, which is balancing security with life, balancing COVID with life. If you can take things to the extreme, if you look at the world through a prism of security only, then we'll all be behind gates and walls and cloistered. During COVID, we could all stay at home forever and there wouldn't be COVID, but there wouldn't be life. So the main challenge and the main objective is to lead reasonable and good lives amid security and not turn security into the main issue. It's our jobs, folks over here, folks in business and high tech and military and government agencies, to ensure that people can lead lives. And that's when we went ahead and started building systems that allowed people to interact, transfer money, buy stuff on the internet without having to be worried that they'll be hacked.
So there have been billions of dollars invested in Israeli cybersecurity companies in the past year. What do we need to do to assure that we continue evolving this space and that Israel continues to dominate this space?
Well, I'll tell you what we don't need. First of all, the Israeli government doesn't need to invest more money in the high-tech arena. Money is not an issue. There's 2 things the government can do to help cybersecurity in Israel and the high-tech in Israel. The first and foremost is don't harm it. Don't harm it. If we don't do dumb stuff, legislate bad laws that make lives more difficult, to found companies, to build companies, to run companies, to merge, to be acquired or to acquire. If we don't make it hard, then we've done a lot. And Michal knows that we have this WhatsApp group, the four of us. So the three other founders, each of them went on and founded or is in a billion-dollar company. I'm the gray sheep who went to politics. But once or a month or 2 months, I ask everyone in the group, have we done anything dumb? Have we legislated anything stupid? Is there anything bad that we're about to do? Usually they say, no, everything's fine. But once every year or two, you say, yeah, there's a stupid law that's going to hurt high-tech, and then I go and intercept it. The second thing, though, we do need is people. And Israel is hungry for talent. We've exhausted the talent pool of the mainstream Israel, and then there's a bunch of new sources of talent that we have to tap upon. First pool of talent is the periphery, the Galilee, Negev. It's funny, I say periphery. You know, in America, you'd be talking to someone from the valley and he's thinking Oklahoma or Omaha, Nebraska, which is 2.5 weeks away. The periphery in Israel is 50 minutes away, but it's the periphery. And we need boys and girls from Sderot, from Kiryat Shmona, to enter 8200, to enter in the education system, not only cyber, but all the STEM areas and beyond. Second group is the Haredim. We are fulfilling a dream of mine 10 years ago when everyone was talking about getting the Haredim to serve in the military, which is certainly would be right, because I did the army, you did the army, but it's not going to work. My dream was precisely the opposite, to let them off the hook for a few years at a young age so they can enter the workforce. Even though it's not fair, it's the smart thing to do. And we're about pretty soon to complete the legislation that's going to let tens of thousands of young ultra-Orthodox men go out and work if they want. They won't have to stay in the yeshiva, and there's a lot of brain over there, but they don't have English, they don't have math, and we're going to have to figure out fairly rapid ways to get the smarter ones in. Third pool is the Arab sector. We've got lots of young, talented Arab young men and women and they are joining high-tech, but it could happen much more rapidly, but I think the success stories are happening. And finally, I'll say there's another potential pool, which I'm all in also. We got to try it out, and that's the Palestinians in Ramallah, primarily, but not only. My instruction to the government is to make it smooth, so they can work in Israeli high-tech, and we'll see. If it works, it could be amazing. I don't know that it will work, but I'm certainly interested in trying.
So you've been recently advocating for international collaboration between countries to protect civilians, businesses, civil infrastructure. How do you envision that working, and what makes you believe it can actually work?
It's vital. Collaboration is not only a cliche of kumbaya and let's all be together. It's a very practical thing. Let me give you an example. Let's say we're in a subway in New York. We lived in Manhattan. So let's say there's a pickpocket who's going in one of those subway cars and pickpocketing one person, and then 2 minutes later another. Now, if there's no communication between anyone, so Michal gets pickpocketed, but she doesn't talk, she knows she just got pickpocketed, and 2 minutes later, John gets pickpocketed, and 5 minutes later, Lisa gets pickpocketed. But if there is collaboration, she says, whoa, I'm getting pickpocketed. And then everyone else can defend himself against that pickpocketing. Now, that's, I'm trying to illustrate it, but this is not theory. This is reality. Israel is now signing deals with other countries where we share in real time, we share potential malicious activities, and by a bunch of countries in real time seeing a potential malicious activity means we have a much higher chance of saying, yes, this is malicious, because the biggest problem for defense is identifying noise or distinguishing noise and actual malicious activity. The amount of interaction and of stuff going on is infinite, and the issue is to identify who are the bad guys within this big ocean of good guys. So if, for example, we're in touch with the UK and Italy and India and a bunch of other countries, and we're all getting attacked from a new MO, a new modus operandi, within minutes we can all defend ourselves, while if we were each isolated, we wouldn't know, in fact, that it's a malicious activity. That's why we're rapidly expanding this. Gabi, where's Gabi? Portnoy. First of all, Mazel Tov. I just hired him to run Israel's cyber defense. He's a great guy. I actually had to really work hard to get Gabi to join. He said no, and I said no to the no, and here we are. But one of the things Gabi's going to do is really run quickly and sign more and more collaboration deals with other countries. This is on G2G, but it's also relevant in the business arena.
Cyber warfare is a critical component of modern warfare, and once upon a time you were either a fighter in the field or a fighter on the keyboard. And could you share some insight into the recent announcement by the Chief of Staff of the IDF about the, I guess, tech and cyber training for combat soldiers?
Yeah, so the future is hybrid. The future is hybrid warfare, cyber and physical combined. So if 100 years ago we were talking about tanks to tanks, airplanes to tanks, infantry to airplanes or whatever, and over the past few decades we've seen a tremendous amount of cyber to cyber. So hacking websites or hacking critical internet infrastructure. Over the past few years, we've seen much, let's call cyber C, let's call physical P. So used to be P to P 100 years ago, or the past 20 years C to C, but we're seeing much more C to P, which means cyber that actually creates a physical impact. It could change or influence sewage systems. It can change the amount of chloride in the water and potentially poison people. It can have real life effect, and we can also see P to C, where in a war tanks might want to capture data centers and disconnect them, or hit the critical infrastructure. But that's at the strategic level. Also on the operational level, IDF is now promoting a remarkable hybrid program where folks who are brilliant boys and girls who are fighters will also be trained in various cyber activities and bring it to a tactical level. Israel has really a remarkable pool of young men and women in the military, which is probably the best school in the world for cyber and actually for everything. It builds our character. It puts us it provides young men and women at a very young age with tremendous responsibilities. Where else in the world will you have a 21-year-old officer and she has to decide and make a decision? Yeah, there's a war starting with a country at that young age of 21, and that can only happen in Israel. So we're very eager to make this happen.
So you started off talking about the situation in Ukraine. Cyber combat has also partly been shaping the war in Ukraine, and I think many have been asking themselves, it's a source of anxiety for everybody. I mean, what is the government of Israel doing to protect us here against that form of cyber combat?
Well, Israel is fairly advanced, so Gabi Portnoy is now beginning to run the National Cyber Agency, and we've got different responsibilities. So the military and other security agencies in Israel have responsibility for some of the most sensitive defense facilities, but then you've got the rest of Israel, which is under Gabi's responsibility, and it's a tremendous amount of work because we have, in many cases, advanced intelligence on cyber attacks. We have real-time intelligence on cyber attacks, so the job is multifold. We want to train folks well in advance, companies, tell them how to defend themselves, protect themselves in reasonable ways, have an ongoing channel with all these organizations, so when there's a new attack and we need within minutes to upgrade or close a hole, so it'll be streamlined. I don't want to talk about a specific example. I won't give the details. I will give a specific example. Over the past few months, we had an attack. We knew about the attack. We knew who was going to get attacked. We called up the company. We told them, do what you need to do to seal the hole. They didn't. And they got attacked. And why? Because the government doesn't have authority to command a commercial company to protect itself. So these are, and it's a balance. I'm not sure I want to be able to tell companies you have to do. I'm not sure. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. It's one of those questions that we're going to have to work through, but I want that company to protect itself because people get harmed. So these are the sort of things that the agency is going to have to tackle over the next few years.
Israel has become an undisputed world leader in cybersecurity, and with leadership comes a lot of responsibility. What is Israel's responsibility towards the global citizens of the world?
You're right. Israel is a world leader in cybersecurity in both dimensions, defense and offense, and with capability comes responsibility. And indeed, we do need to work out the guidelines, how to use this stuff. I do not agree that per se these are bad weapons. Is a rifle a good thing or a bad thing? If you're protecting your home, it's a good thing. If you're a murderer, it's a bad thing. So a rifle is a tool. The question is how you use the tool and what are you using the tool for? And that's where the real questions need to be asked. But cyber is simply a new dimension, it's like saying cyber warfare is bad or good. It's irrelevant. I know for a fact that Israel is very thoughtful about all of this. But my responsibility as Prime Minister of Israel, first and foremost, is to protect the state of Israel and the people of Israel from lots of bad folks out there who want to destroy us. And I'm going to use every single tool on earth to defend Israel, period. Now, when working with others, we got to be thoughtful, but our lives are from my perspective, the single most important thing.
So let's jump to a quick, perhaps...
22 years in high tech, but that's actually what solves the problem.
You turn it off and then put it on and it works. So let's jump to a quick lightning round of questions, if you could answer in just a few words.
My mom, when I come to her home, she says, can you program the video? And I don't know how to do it. What are you worth? You were in high tech, right? So, go ahead.
So to our lightning round of questions. What do you miss from your days at Toyota?
Well, you. No, but really the amazing people, and you know what else? How rapid it is between idea and execution and reality. So, you know, in high tech, it could be minutes from an idea till beginning to realize the idea. In the government, man, I mean, just to move a pen from one place to another, you need a dozen committees and a bid process and legal and all of that. But what I'm trying to do is sort of import the rapidness. In COVID, we did it actually. We formed a national team who could make very rapid decisions. I ran the team. I'm the only state leader in the world that personally ran the team because I knew that if we go through the regular process, it'll take 2 months to buy a few antigens or something. So that's what I miss.
Defensive or offensive cyber?
Well, both, obviously.
So you always say it's all about the team. Do you know how many cyber leaders and startups actually came out of Toyota?
From our company founded in 23 years ago, over 30 founders went on to found their own companies. And so I remember we were criticized. Why'd you do an exit? You know, we should only build big companies. I tend to disagree. There's no right or wrong. From Toyota, we sold fairly early, but over 30 companies were founded, many of them wildly successful, including the other 3 founders who, as you know, succeeded.
What did you learn as an entrepreneur that serves you as a prime minister? You
know, politics and high tech are like diametrically opposed. It's very different. It is. It's a different laws of physics, right? You know, in regular physics, you let go of something, falls down. In politics, it can fall to the side or something, and I'll explain. You know that it's my belief in high tech and that we should be as visible as possible. My dream was that every employee in the company knew everything. That's sort of the perfection. In politics, it's obviously the reverse. You're always hiding stuff. In the startup, we come in the morning and we're all working for one big goal. In politics, it's a bit different. But really, at the end of the day, it's all about just amazing people. That's what I miss. Just being with amazing people doing amazing stuff.
If not cyber, then what?
If not cyber, or let's restate it. After cyber, here I'm telling you, Michal, you, okay? You sold a company, you IPO'd another company. There's about 5,000 entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs in Israel who did the internet and cyber and video. And I tease my friends, all 3 of them are in the video arena. And I tell them, so when you go up to, at the age of 120, you go up and what do you say? I got a few kids to have their eyeballs on a video for 3 more seconds. Here's what I think we can do and we ought to do. Just a small thing, save the world. I think that, and I would be wildly happy, ultimately it's their decision, that former entrepreneurs come in and do businesses, build businesses, but businesses that make a meaningful impact on the world. The fact is that you know, it's no big secret that the world is heating up. While we're in war right now, we're you know, sidelined, but I think we know that the technologies that are necessary to prevent or slow down global warming and adapt the world to this new environment, the technologies don't exist yet. All of those goals of zero emissions by 2050 can be met only by technologies that have yet to be invented. And who's going to do it? It's you. So here's my message to Israeli entrepreneurs. Do your thing, do your first exit, be secure and all that, and then do meaningful stuff that will impact the world. And Israel has to take a leadership role in fighting global warming, in mitigation and adaptation. It's not me saying this. Bill Gates said, you guys got to do it. David Attenborough, who came over to me at Glasgow and said, Israel has to save the world. So I'm just telling you, Israel and Israeli talented entrepreneurs have to work to save the world. That is so unfair what I just did. I did public shaming here. No, videos are important.
No, it's okay. I understand. So I guess this was your first tip. What are your two other tips for the entrepreneurs watching you right now?
By far, the biggest advice, the best advice I can give is to choose the right partners. Everything else is way less important. The strategy will change, product will change, markets will change, the marketing program will change, pricing will change. What won't change is that if you've got 2 or 3 remarkable partners with you that are intelligent, that have small egos, that are looking for the good of the company as opposed to their piece in the pie, flexible, optimistic. You don't want, sour-faced people working with you. That's a single one, and the rest will work itself out.
Well, thank you for sharing all of these wonderful insights. And I guess with cybersecurity continuing to be a major source of global concern, despite our, I guess, political disagreements, I myself feel absolutely confident and sure that you're best suited to actually drive a global strategy and vision around, cybersecurity for the years to come. So thank you, and this was so much fun.
Thank you. Toda raba.